The year 2547 would forever be remembered as humanity's darkest hour. Admiral Elizabeth Morgan stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defiance, and watched everything she had fought for crumble into dust. Around her station, 12 human ships remained from a fleet that had once numbered 300. The Krell Dominion had won. They just didn't know it yet. "Admiral, the Vanguard is gone," Lieutenant James Parker reported, his voice hollow and empty. "Hull breach on decks 4 through 9. No survivors." Elizabeth said nothing. What could she say? The Vanguard had been her first command 15 years ago. Now it was debris, adding to the field of shattered metal that surrounded Arctura Station. Beyond that station lay the final jump gate to Earth. When it fell, humanity had nowhere left to run. "All ships, move closer to the station," she ordered. Her voice was steady, even though her hands trembled. "Make them work for every inch." Captain William Ross looked up from his tactical display. His face was gray, exhausted. They had been fighting for 6 days straight. "Admiral, we have maybe 2 hours left. 3 if we're lucky. Earth Command is requesting a status update." Elizabeth almost laughed. A status update? What should she tell them? That humanity's final battle would be over before lunch? That their children would grow up as slaves to an alien empire that viewed humans as nothing more than insects to be crushed? She never got the chance to answer. Every alarm on the bridge started screaming at once. Red lights flashed. The tactical display went crazy, showing readings that made no sense. "What's happening?" Elizabeth demanded. William stabbed desperately at his controls. "I'm detecting something massive. A gravitational anomaly right on top of us. Distance is, it's impossible. It's right here. Shields up. All weapons." "Wait," Lieutenant Helen Foster interrupted. She stared at her communications panel like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Something is decloaking. Something really, really big." The main view screen flickered. Space itself seemed to tear open like fabric being ripped apart. What came through that tear made Elizabeth forget how to breathe. The ship was enormous. It made the largest Krell dreadnought look like a toy. Its hull was pure black, darker than space itself, as if it was drinking in all the light around it. There were no windows, no weapons she could see, no markings of any kind. It simply appeared, hanging in space like it had always been there, and they were only now being allowed to see it. Power readings spiked across every sensor. This mysterious vessel radiated more energy than the entire Krell fleet combined. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately," Elizabeth transmitted on all frequencies. "You are entering an active war zone." Silence. The black ship just floated there, silent and terrible. Then every speaker on the Defiance activated at once. The voice that came through was human and male, with a strange calm that made Elizabeth's skin crawl. This was someone who had seen too much horror, survived too much pain. "Humanity," the voice said, broadcasting to every ship, every station, every colony. "We have been watching you. You have impressed us." The black ship slowly rotated, pointing toward the Krell fleet. "Now, let us impress you." What happened next would be told as legend for centuries to come. The ship didn't fire missiles. It didn't launch fighters. One moment, the lead Krell dreadnought existed, 6 kilometers of armor and weapons and rage. The next moment, it simply stopped. Its shields vanished as if someone had flipped a switch. Then the massive ship separated into 2 perfect halves, cut so cleanly it looked like surgery. No explosion. No energy beam. No warning. The dreadnought just came apart and died. "Dear God," William whispered. 3 more Krell ships died in the next 10 seconds. Same method. Shields gone, hulls split perfectly in half. The Krell formation broke apart in panic. Elizabeth had never seen them retreat before. Ever. In 3 years of war, the Krell had never shown fear. Until now. "All Krell forces are withdrawing," James reported, his voice filled with shock. "They're running away." Elizabeth stared at the view screen. The mysterious black ship hadn't even moved. It just floated there while the most feared fleet in known space fled in terror. "Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Elizabeth Morgan of the United Terran Fleet," she transmitted. "Thank you. Who are you? Where did you come from?" The pause felt like forever. "You may call this ship Ghost Protocol," the voice finally answered. "As for who we are, that is complicated, Admiral. Very complicated. We need to talk. May we come aboard?" Elizabeth looked at William. He shrugged helplessly. They had just been saved from certain death by a ship that shouldn't exist. "Permission granted," she said. Welcome to the Defiance. We are human, Admiral, the voice said, and now Elizabeth heard bone-deep weariness in it. We are just not from when you think we are. Prepare your medical team. Our biology might surprise your doctors. We will explain everything. Or at least, everything we are allowed to tell you. The transmission ended. Elizabeth stared at the black ship on her view screen, her mind racing with impossible thoughts. Time travel was supposed to be fantasy. But she had also just watched ships die without any visible weapon being fired. On the view screen, Ghost Protocol hung in darkness, a ship that should not exist, crewed by humans from a time that might never happen, having just changed the course of a war in 30 minutes. The man who appeared in the Defiance's transport bay looked completely ordinary. He seemed to be in his mid-40s with brown hair that was turning gray. His blue eyes looked tired, like someone who had not slept properly in years. He wore a black and gray uniform that Elizabeth had never seen before. Admiral Morgan, he said, offering his hand. I am Captain Daniel Wright. Thank you for allowing us aboard. Elizabeth shook his hand. It felt warm and human. You said we. Are there others? My senior officers. Daniel gestured behind him as 3 more people materialized. Commander Rebecca Hall, Tactical Officer. Lieutenant Thomas Green, Engineering. And Dr. Emma Price, Medical. Each person nodded in greeting. Each one wore the same exhausted expression as their captain, like soldiers who had been fighting a war for far too long. Your transporter technology is not in any of our databases, William said from beside Elizabeth. The energy signature is completely unknown to us. It should be, Daniel said quietly. You will not develop this type of transportation for another 500 years. The room went silent. Elizabeth felt her heart skip. 500 years, she repeated slowly. You are saying you come from the year 3047? Close enough. The exact date is classified. What matters is that we are here to help you. But first, I need to tell you something very difficult. In Elizabeth's private office, Daniel told them a story that seemed impossible. In our timeline, he began, humanity lost this war. The Battle of Arcturus Station fell in 17 hours. The Krell broke through to Earth 3 weeks later. What happened next was genocide. 98% of the human race was killed over the next 30 years. Dr. Emma pulled up holographic images. Cities burning. Planets destroyed. Endless columns of refugees. And bodies everywhere. So many bodies. The survivors became something different, Daniel continued, his voice flat and emotionless. We had to change. We rebuilt in secret, hiding in dark places between the stars. We developed weapons the Krell could not stop. We became harder, colder, more ruthless than our enemies. Eventually, after 200 years of hiding and fighting, we won. But winning cost us everything, Rebecca added. Her voice sounded like broken glass. We saved humanity, but we lost what made us human. We became conquerors without compassion. We became the very thing we had fought against. Thomas nodded. Someone discovered how to travel through time. One chance to go back and change everything. To save humanity before it had to become like us. So you came back, Elizabeth said slowly. But if you change the past, will you not erase your own timeline? Your own existence? Daniel's sad smile made Elizabeth's heart ache. That is exactly the point, Admiral. Everyone aboard Ghost Protocol volunteered knowing we would never go home. Traveling back in time locked us here. We are cut off from our original timeline. If we succeed, we will erase ourselves from existence. Our future will never happen. You are talking about killing yourselves, William said, shocked. We are talking about sacrifice, Daniel corrected. There is a difference. We have already lived through hell. We are giving you the chance to avoid it. That is worth the price. Elizabeth studied the man in front of her. She had commanded soldiers for 20 years. She knew what war did to people. But this was different. This man had already died inside and was just waiting for his body to catch up. What do you need from us? She asked. Time and trust. We will share technology with you. Better shields, tactical knowledge, medical treatments. But there are limits. We cannot give you everything. Why not? William demanded. If you have weapons that can cut through Krell ships like paper, why hold anything back? Because we are not here to win this war for you, Rebecca answered sharply. We are here to give you the tools to win it yourselves. If we hand you everything, you will never develop your own strength. You will become dependent. And that dependency will poison your future just like losing the war would. Daniel stood and walked to the window. Outside, Ghost Protocol floated in space. In our timeline, humanity survived by becoming monsters. We do not want that for you. We want you to survive by being better than we were. Stronger, yes. But also kinder. More human. Over the next 2 days, teams from Ghost Protocol worked with human engineers. They upgraded shield systems and weapons. Medical staff shared treatments that saved lives doctors had given up on. But they shared nothing about their most powerful weapons. Those remained locked away in secret. It drove William crazy. They are holding back, he complained to Elizabeth. We could end this war in weeks with their technology. Or we could become dependent on technology we do not understand, Elizabeth replied. The captain is right. We need to stand on our own. The argument ended when the Krell returned with overwhelming force. 120 dreadnoughts, supported by hundreds of smaller ships. But they did not attack Archer Station. They attacked 3 colonies at once. New Bristol, Port Victoria, and Haven's Landing, James reported, his face pale. Each colony is facing more than 40 capital ships. Daniel appeared on the view screen. We can defend 1 colony, Admiral. Choose. What? Choose, he repeated, his voice hard as steel. This is your war, your people, your decision. We can save 1 colony for certain. The other 2 depend on you and your fleet. Choose which one we defend. Elizabeth felt ice in her veins. You are asking me to condemn millions of people to death. I am asking you to take responsibility for your species. Welcome to real command, Admiral. It does not get easier from here. Elizabeth wanted to scream at him. To demand he save all 3 colonies. But she understood what he was doing. This was a test. Could humanity save itself, or would it always look to others for rescue? William, split the fleet. Task Force Alpha takes New Bristol. Task Force Beta takes Port Victoria. Give them everything, all our upgraded weapons and our best commanders. What about Haven's Landing? William asked quietly. Elizabeth met Daniel's eyes on the screen. Haven's Landing gets Ghost Protocol. Daniel nodded slowly. Understood. Admiral, do not let us down. Show us you are worth saving. As human ships jumped to light speed, racing toward 3 desperate battles, Elizabeth stared at her display. 2 colonies would be defended by ordinary ships and ordinary people. 1 would be guarded by a ghost ship from a future that would never exist. She had made her choice. Now she had to live with it. Or die with it. The next 6 hours would decide everything. New Bristol was burning, but it was still standing. Captain Richard Stone commanded 18 human ships against 43 Krell dreadnoughts. The numbers said he should already be dead. But something had changed. Something was different. Shields holding at 70%, his tactical officer shouted over the noise of battle. Their plasma cannons are not getting through like before. The upgrades from Ghost Protocol were working. The new shield technology, the improved weapons systems, the tactical information Rebecca Hall had taught them. Humanity's ships were not invincible, but they were no longer helpless either. All ships, formation Delta 7. Stone ordered. Focus all fire on the lead dreadnought's left side. Commander Hall said there is a weak point in their shield pattern right there. The human fleet moved with precision. Rebecca Hall had taught them more about fighting the Krell in 2 days than they had learned in 3 years of war. She knew exactly how the enemy thought, how they moved, where they were vulnerable. Because she had spent 200 years fighting them. The lead Krell dreadnought's shields flickered under concentrated fire. Then they failed completely. Nuclear missiles punched through armor that had seemed impossible to break before. The dreadnought exploded. First kill, someone shouted. Do not celebrate yet, Stone growled. We still have 42 more to kill. At Port Victoria, Captain Margaret Davies led 15 ships against 41 Krell capital ships. Her fleet was smaller and the odds were worse, but her people fought with desperate courage. They fought like they actually believed they could win. At Haven's Landing, Ghost Protocol showed exactly why the Krell had run away at Archer Station. The battle lasted 11 minutes. 4 to 7 Krell dreadnoughts arrived expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found a black ship that turned their own technology against them. Shields simply shut down. Weapons exploded inside their own ships. Navigation systems went crazy, making dreadnoughts crash into each other. Then Ghost Protocol started cutting them apart. 17 dreadnoughts died in the first minute. The rest fled into hyperspace, running for their lives. Daniel watched them go from his bridge. Let them run, he told Rebecca. Let them tell their commanders what happened here. Fear is a weapon too. Back at Archery Station, Elizabeth watched 3 battles at once on her displays. Her heart pounded as she saw human ships dying at New Bristol and Port Victoria. People she had known for decades were dying to buy just a few more minutes. Then something changed. At New Bristol, Captain Stone used a trick Rebecca had taught them. 6 Krell cruisers died in a crossfire they never saw coming. At Port Victoria, Captain Davies found the Krell command ship hiding in a debris field and destroyed it with a suicide run. 6 hours later, the reports came in. New Bristol defended. 7 ships destroyed, but the colony survived. Port Victoria defended. 9 ships lost, but millions of lives saved. Haven's Landing defended with no human casualties at all. Humanity had won. Not perfectly. Not without terrible losses. But they had won without Ghost Protocol fighting the entire war for them. Elizabeth felt tears running down her face. "Get me Captain Wright," she ordered. Daniel's face appeared on her screen. He looked exhausted, but also proud. "You did it," he said before she could speak. "You actually did it." "We lost 16 ships," Elizabeth said. "Thousands of people. And you saved millions. You proved you can stand on your own. Admiral, in our timeline, all 3 colonies fell. Today, they all survived. Do you understand what that means? It means we have a chance. It means you always had a chance. You just needed to believe it." Daniel paused. "There is someone who needs to talk to you. Commander Robert Mitchell, my intelligence officer. He has important information. Can he come aboard?" "Of course. Admiral, what he will tell you is more classified than anything you have heard so far. Clear your office. Just you and people you trust with your life." Commander Robert Mitchell was younger than the other Ghost Protocol crew members. He had sharp green eyes that seemed to see everything. He arrived carrying a sealed data container. "Admiral Morgan," he said without any greeting. "I need to show you something that will change everything you think you know about us." Elizabeth had invited only William and Helen. "Go ahead." Robert activated a holographic projector. An enormous wall appeared, stretching into the distance. It was covered in names. Billions and billions of names. "This is inside Ghost Protocol," Robert explained. "Every ship from our time has one like it. These are the casualties from the war we lost. Every human being who died in our timeline. Men, women, children. 98% of humanity." William leaned forward, reading names. His face went white. "That is my family name. Jennifer Ross. David Ross. Those are my wife and son. In our timeline, they died on Earth when the Krell broke through," Robert said gently. "I am sorry. But in this timeline, they are alive right now. You changed their future." Helen was reading too, her hand over her mouth. "Catherine Foster. My daughter. She is only 6 years old. In our timeline, she never lived to see 7. Robert's voice stayed steady, but his eyes showed deep pain. "That is why we are here. Not for abstract ideas. For specific people. Your families. Your children. The future they deserve to have." Elizabeth found her own name on the wall. Elizabeth Morgan. Died in battle, Archery Station, age 47. 17 hours from now in the original timeline, Robert confirmed. "But not in this one. You survived. You are changing everything just by being alive." He pulled up another image. DNA scans with dozens of modifications marked in red. "This is why I am really here. Your doctors noticed something strange in our genetic samples. We are not entirely human anymore. The survivors in our timeline underwent genetic changes to survive radiation, to heal faster, to think more efficiently. We modified ourselves at the cellular level to fight the Krell. It worked. But it cost us something essential." "Your humanity," Elizabeth whispered. "Some of it, yes. We became perfect soldiers. Efficient killers. We lost the ability to feel empathy the way you do. Compassion became a weakness we removed from ourselves. We won the war, but we lost our souls doing it." He looked directly at Elizabeth. "We are here because a few people in our time remembered what we had lost. They developed time travel not to win the war we had already won, but to save humanity's soul. To give you a chance to survive without becoming us." William stared at the wall of names. "Everyone on your ship volunteered knowing they would erase themselves from existence." 843 crew members on Ghost Protocol, Robert confirmed. "Every one a volunteer. Every one knowing they would never go home. We are quantum ghosts, Admiral. We exist in your present, but we have no future. When we die here, we just cease to exist completely. The weight of that sacrifice filled the room like heavy gravity. Why tell us this? Elizabeth asked. Because you need to understand what we are protecting you from. And because someone needs to remember us. If we succeed, history will forget we ever existed. Someone should remember that 843 people gave up everything so billions could live. He handed Elizabeth the data chip. This contains our whole story. When this is over, someone should remember. Elizabeth took the chip. It felt heavier than it should. I will remember. We all will. Robert stood to leave, then paused. Admiral, there is one more thing. Ghost Protocol is not alone. There are 4 to 7 other ships from our time scattered across the galaxy. We have been coordinating in secret, waiting for the right moment. The right moment for what? Robert's smile was grim. The Krell's final move. They are building their ultimate weapon. Something we could not stop in our timeline. Something that forced us to hide for 200 years. What kind of weapon? The kind that eats entire worlds, Robert said quietly. And it is coming. Probably within 6 months. When it arrives, you will need every advantage you can get. He left 3 people staring at billions of names from a future that would never exist. Elizabeth looked at the data chip in her hand. We are not going to let them down. Whatever is coming, we will be ready. The Krell did not respond to their defeats with peace talks. They responded with rage and violence. 6 weeks after the Battle of 3 Colonies, Krell forces attacked 17 human systems at once. They were not trying to conquer anymore. They were trying to wipe out every human in the galaxy. Ghost Protocol and the human fleet fought back with everything they had. Ships with upgraded technology held the line at terrible cost. Battles that should have been massacres became narrow victories. Heroes were made every day. And every day, they died. Captain Margaret Davies died defending Port Victoria a second time, crashing her destroyed ship into a Krell command vessel. Captain Richard Stone lost both legs in a hull breach but kept fighting from his command chair until doctors forced him to stop. Elizabeth coordinated everything from Arcturus Station. Her hair turned white from stress in just weeks. Daniel and Ghost Protocol appeared wherever the fighting was worst, turning impossible situations into barely survivable ones. But the losses kept mounting. We cannot keep this up, William told Elizabeth during a strategy meeting. We are losing ships faster than we can build them. The Krell have more resources, more territory, more everything. Then we need to change the rules, Elizabeth replied. Daniel, your intelligence officer said the Krell have an ultimate weapon. When are they using it? Daniel's face on the screen looked exhausted. Sooner than we hoped. Our scouts detected massive energy readings from Krell space. They are moving something big. How big? The size of a moon. The room went silent. A moon? Helen said weakly. They are moving an entire moon. Not a natural moon, Robert Mitchell explained, appearing beside Daniel. An artificial weapon called a world eater. It does exactly what the name says. It breaks down planets at the molecular level and turns them into energy to power itself. Once it starts eating a planet, nothing can stop it. In our timeline, Daniel added, the world eater destroyed Earth. We evacuated some people, but billions died. The survivors spent 200 years hiding in deep space before we could fight back. You are telling me there is a weapon that destroyed Earth, and it is coming here? Elizabeth felt ice in her blood. Yes. It will arrive at Earth in about 4 months. William slammed his fist on the table. Then we evacuate. Get everyone off Earth and scatter across the colonies. There are 12 billion people on Earth, Robert interrupted. Even with every ship we have, we could maybe evacuate 2 billion in 4 months. The rest would die. And the Krell would hunt down every colony until humanity is extinct. So we are dead, someone said quietly. No, Daniel said firmly. In our timeline, we were not prepared. We had no warning, no allies, no hope. But you have all 3. You have us. And we are not alone. There are 4 to 7 other ships from our time. When the World Eater arrives, we are calling them all here. 48 ships against a moon-sized weapon, William said bitterly. How does that work? Maybe it does not, Daniel admitted. But in our timeline, we eventually developed weapons that could damage a World Eater. Our ships carry those weapons. The problem is we have never tested them against an active World Eater. We do not know if they will work. So we are betting humanity's survival on maybe, Helen said. We are betting on hope, Daniel corrected. Admiral, I need your permission to recall the other ships. They are scattered across 50 light years. It will take time to bring them all here. Elizabeth thought about the data chip Robert had given her. 843 volunteers on Ghost Protocol. How many more on the other 4 to 7 ships? Thousands of people, all cut off from their timeline, all fighting for a future they would never see. You have my permission, she said. Bring them all home. Daniel nodded. Admiral, there is something else. Bringing that many ships from our time to one location will create problems with reality itself. Time does not like paradoxes. There is a chance we might start to fade away. Quantum dissolution. If it starts, we cannot stop it. You are telling me that saving us might kill you? Daniel's smile was sad. We died the moment we traveled back in time, Admiral. We are already ghosts. This just makes it official. The question is, are you willing to accept our sacrifice? Elizabeth met his eyes. I do not want to. But I will. Because the alternative is extinction. Because you are giving us a chance. Because remembering you is the least we can do. Thank you, Admiral. We will begin the recall immediately. In 4 months, humanity makes its final stand. Over the next week, the truth spread across human space. The World Eater was coming. Earth had 4 months. Evacuation was impossible. Their only hope was 48 ghost ships from a future that did not exist. People panicked. They got angry. They despaired. But they also did something else. They got determined. If humanity was going to die, it would die fighting. Recruitment centers were flooded with volunteers. Shipyards worked day and night building new ships. Scientists studied every piece of data Ghost Protocol provided, searching for any weakness in the World Eater's design. And slowly, 48 black ships began appearing around Earth. Each one materialized from nothing, arriving from journeys across half the galaxy. Each one broadcast a name. Ghost Protocol. Shadow of Tomorrow. Last Hope. Remembered Future. Price of Victory. Sins of Tomorrow. Echoes in Time. 48 ships, each named after a colony that had burned in their timeline. 48 ships, crewed by people who no longer existed anywhere but here and now. Elizabeth watched them gather from Arcturus Station. She felt something she had not felt in months. Not quite hope. Hope was too fragile. This was certainty. Whatever happened, humanity would face it together. And if they died, they would die standing up. Daniel appeared on her screen one last time. They are all here. Every ship, every crew member. We are ready, Admiral. So are we, Elizabeth replied. Captain, thank you for everything. Thank you for giving us a reason to exist, Daniel said. In our timeline, we survived but lost our souls. You showed us what we should have been. That is worth more than you know. Will I see you again after this is over? Daniel's smile was gentle. Probably not. The stress from the battle will speed up the quantum dissolution. But that is okay. We knew the price when we volunteered. Just remember us, Admiral. Tell the future about the ghosts who fought for them. That is all we ask. Always, Elizabeth promised. I will make sure everyone knows. 4 days later, James reported from his station with a trembling voice. Massive gravitational distortions at the edge of the system. It is here. Elizabeth's heart pounded. General quarters. All ships to battle stations. This is it. The World Eater emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare made solid. 3,000 kilometers across, a sphere of dark metal covered in patterns that hurt to look at. Energy crackled across its surface in impossible colors. Surrounding it came the Krell fleet. Not dozens of ships. Hundreds. Every ship they had. 347 capital ships and thousands of smaller vessels. Elizabeth took a deep breath. All human forces, engage at will. Show them what we are made of. 230 human ships surged forward. Upgraded, determined, fighting for their homes and families. They were outnumbered and outgunned. But they were not out of courage. Ghost Protocol and the 47 other ships held position around the World Eater itself. They had a different target. The real enemy. All ghost ships, initiate final attack, Daniel broadcast. Target the core systems. We have one shot. Make it count. The battle for humanity's survival had begun. The 48 ghost ships moved as one, converging on the massive World Eater. Energy weapons that humanity did not understand lanced out, striking the construct's surface. Shields flickered under the assault but held firm. It is not enough. Rebecca shouted on Ghost Protocol's bridge. The shields are regenerating faster than we can damage them. Then we go inside, Daniel decided. Prepare boarding teams. We are taking this fight to the core. Captain, if we enter that thing, the quantum dissolution will accelerate. We will have only minutes before we fade completely. Then we better work fast. Daniel pulled on combat armor. All teams, prepare for insertion. We are going into the heart of the beast. While the ghost ships attacked the World Eater, the human fleet fought the Krell Armada with desperate courage. Captain Stone, commanding from his wheelchair with new cybernetic legs, led destroyers against battlegroups 3 times their size. His ships danced between enemy vessels, using every trick Rebecca Hall had taught them. Target their command ship. Stone ordered. All weapons, fire. The Krell dreadnought's shields held for 3 seconds, then collapsed. The ship exploded in brilliant fire. But there were still hundreds more to fight. The destroyer Valiant rammed a Krell cruiser after losing all power, both ships dying together. The carrier Titan exploded when plasma breached its reactor, taking 200 crew members. The cruiser Defiance died protecting a wounded ship, buying time for its crew to escape. Heroes died by the hundreds. But the Krell died too. Inside the World Eater, Daniel and his team moved through corridors that bent at impossible angles. Walls curved in ways that made their eyes hurt. Gravity shifted randomly. The air tasted like metal and wrongness. Mechanical constructs emerged from the walls, half machine and half organic. They fired weapons that disintegrated anything they touched. Daniel's team fired back with future weapons. Energy beams turned the constructs into melted slag. Captain, I am detecting the core, Emma called out. 300 meters ahead. But it is preparing to fire. If it activates while we are inside, we will be vaporized along with Earth, Daniel finished. Then we stop it first. Move. They ran through twisted corridors, fighting every step. Behind them, team members began to flicker and fade as quantum dissolution started. Their bodies became transparent as reality forgot they existed. Keep going. Daniel ordered as one soldier faded completely, his scream cutting off mid-sound. Finish the mission. They burst into the core chamber. A vast sphere filled with machinery that pulsed with the light of contained stars. At the center, dark energy rotated slowly, drawing power from dimensions that had no names. That is it, Thomas said, his own hands beginning to fade. That is what eats worlds. Captain, if we overload it with our quantum devices, it will explode and destroy the World Eater. It will also destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers, Daniel said. We will not make it out. We were never making it out, sir. I know. Plant the charges. The team worked quickly, placing devices around the core even as they faded in and out of existence. Some disappeared entirely, their sacrifices written in quantum foam. Others pushed through, determined to complete the mission even as they stopped existing. Daniel was the last one standing. He could see through his own body now, watch his hands pass through solid matter like a ghost. He activated the device with fingers that barely had substance. All teams, this is Captain Wright, he broadcast. Charges are set. Detonation in 60 seconds. All ghost ships, clear the area. It has been an honor. Make us proud. Make us obsolete. He looked at his fading hands and smiled. After 200 years of war, after surviving horrors that had broken his species, he was finally going home. Not to the future that made him. To the nothing that waited for paradoxes. But he was taking this weapon with him. The countdown reached 0. The explosion was visible from Earth. A new sun bloomed in space as the World Eater's core went critical. The massive construct shuddered, its shields failing, its structure fracturing. Then it tore itself apart. Debris the size of mountains flew in every direction. 6 ghost ships that had not cleared the blast radius in time were vaporized instantly. But the World Eater died. The weapon that had destroyed Earth in another timeline, that had forced humanity into 200 years of hiding, that had broken an entire species, it died, killed by the very people it had created. The Krell fleet wavered. Their ultimate weapon was gone. Their advantage was disappearing against human ships that fought like lions. And 42 ghost ships still remained, weapons charged and ready. The Krell broke and ran. 300 ships fled into hyperspace, abandoning the battle, abandoning their conquest. They left behind 63 destroyed dreadnoughts and the dream of human extinction. Elizabeth watched them flee, tears streaming down her face. We won, William said in disbelief. We actually won. At what cost? Elizabeth whispered. James pulled up reports. 97 human ships destroyed. 42,000 dead. 6 ghost ships lost. And Captain Wright's team, they are gone. All of them. Helen checked her senses. The remaining ghost ships are fading. Quantum dissolution is accelerating. They are disappearing. Elizabeth watched as the impossible ships began to flicker. Shadow of Tomorrow was first, becoming transparent, then simply gone. Last Hope followed. Then Price of Victory. One by one, the ships that had saved humanity faded from existence. Open a channel, Elizabeth ordered. All frequencies. Channel open. This is Admiral Elizabeth Morgan to all ghost ships. On behalf of humanity, on behalf of Earth, on behalf of everyone who will live because of what you did, thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for believing we were worth saving. We will remember you. Every name, every ship, every moment. You gave up your existence so we could have ours. That debt can never be repaid, but it will never be forgotten. Rest now. You have earned it. The remaining ghost ships flickered one last time. And then they were gone, as if they had never existed at all. Except Elizabeth knew they had. She had the proof. The data chip with their names and stories. The memory of their sacrifice. 48 ships. 50,000 volunteers. All of them giving up everything for a timeline that was not theirs. Signal all ships, Elizabeth ordered quietly. Begin rescue operations. Bring our people home. As human ships moved through the debris, Elizabeth stared at the empty space where the ghost ships had been. They saved us, William said. And we will never be able to thank them properly. Yes, we can, Elizabeth replied. We live. We rebuild. We become the people they wanted us to be. Strong enough to stand alone, kind enough to never become what they were. That is how we thank them. By being worthy of their sacrifice. She held up the data chip. And we make absolutely certain that nobody ever forgets what they did. 3 months later, a memorial was built on Arcturus Station. A simple black stone tower, 30 feet tall, inscribed with 48 ship names. Below them, one line. They came from a future that will never exist, fought for a people not their own, and gave up everything so we might have tomorrow. Elizabeth stood before it on Dedication Day, surrounded by thousands of survivors. We gather here to remember those who cannot be in history books, she said. To honor sacrifices that erased themselves. To thank people whose existence was a paradox. 3 months ago, we should have died. But we did not. Because people from a future we will never see decided we deserved a chance. She placed her hand on the cold stone. They are gone. Truly, completely gone. But they are also here, in every choice we make, in every life we save, in every moment we choose to be better. That is the real legacy of ghosts. Not monuments, but the future they gave us. The future we are living right now. Years passed. Decades. The story of the ghost ships became legend. Details faded from records, eroded by quantum effects. But the memorial remained. The names stayed carved in stone. And humanity remembered. They built a civilization worthy of the sacrifice. Stronger but kinder. Capable but compassionate. They made peace with the Krell. They explored new worlds. They thrived. And on every ship, in every colony, in every school, children learned the same words. Make us proud. Make us obsolete. Humanity had done exactly that. The ghosts could finally rest. Their war was over. Their victory complete. Their legacy eternal.